And we're live.
We're live. I just see that. Okay, great. So let's let people stream in here while we repost and
Yeah.
mention that. Okay, great. Got that. Quote tweet. Quote donk. All right. And perfect. Do this different.
Yeah, I am too. I did a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know. I will do that. And then I'm actually going to do it on Facebook too.
Oh, yeah, that's what we should do. We should do it on LinkedIn too.
I'm going to do it on LinkedIn too. Yeah.
Great.
We'll see where the promotion, we got to keep the promotion machine going. So
yeah, I'm going to try that. Okay, now we're going to go up to LinkedIn. We'll let people, there we go. Like, repost. Can I repost with your thoughts? There we go. Blink.
Is that LinkedIn?
Yeah, I did it to my massive LinkedIn followers. Nope, no thanks. I guess sure, why not? Brain expansion group. Sure. Why not? Why not? What I got to lose? Okay.
I got to go to New York again.
That's always fun.
It is. It's just like, you know.
Yeah. It's work.
It's just, it takes so much time out of my schedule to go down there. I mean, I'm using the train down and back again so I can get stuff done. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Hey, if you're just joining us on the live stream, thank you very much. We're just getting ready to record. We're going to record 2 episodes. One that is going to air tomorrow, it'll be pushed out to all the podcast apps tomorrow. And then the second one will be pushed out on Friday. And we're going to talk about some fundraising stuff that I have some insight on. We're going to talk about Loom. We're going to talk about podcast sponsorship. So if you have a podcast and you're trying to figure out how to get advertisers or sponsors, we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about listener mail, emails that we've got, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll integrate that everywhere.
Yeah.
Because that's how we roll.
Yeah, some good questions. And you ready to go?
Yeah, I should take off my watch here.
Pre-show stretch. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm ready to do this.
Let me get my microphone straight. I'm ready too.
All right. Yeah, everything's good. Okay, here we go. I will do that, and I will do this. Business Brain, episode 547 for Casual Wednesday. No, Causal Wednesday, May 8th, National Coconut Cream Pie Day 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take a few ideas, we crunch them, we dissect them, we use them to analyze and tune our collective business brains together here in Durham, New Hampshire. I'm Dave Hamilton.
And out here in sunny California, finally, I'm Shannon Jean.
Yeah, it's sunny here today, too. It's good.
Nice.
We're in the mid-70s. I noticed
beautiful.
you scowled a little bit at coconut cream pie. That's not your thing, is it? No.
I can't handle coconut.
Got it.
The cream, the pie, great, but no coconut for me.
So I mentioned I started doing this, intentionally, where at the beginning of every podcast episode that I do now, be it this show, Gig Gab, Mac Geek Gab, I talk about whatever the national day of the day is. Yeah. It's cool. A thing. And it has led to some conversations in this show. Certainly we had when it was like report tax offender day or whatever, we wound up talking about that.
Scared me. Yep.
I recorded this week an episode of Gig Gab that's coming out on Monday, actually, with a guy named Robert Scoville. He is like the front of house sound engineer that everybody in the industry wants. Right now, he's on tour doing stadiums with Kenny Chesney, right? I mean, he's done Prince and Tom Petty and all these people.
Nice.
Great conversation. Super articulate guy. Like, I was definitely I went into this a little apprehensive, like, am I going to be able to hang with this guy for, for an hour? And we had a great, it was great. It was awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Really great guy. But his episode comes out on National Apple Pie Day. And and he said, he immediately caught onto it, and he was like, well, I hope it's okay that I'm more of a cherry pie guy than an apple pie guy. And I was like, of course, whatever. We had a little conversation about it, and then we went on. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. This is this is somebody I've just met. Like, literally, we do these shows with some of these people where, like, we get to know each other during the recording, as we do with a lot of folks, which is cool. And I thought this morning, I'm like, well, wait a minute. When is National Cherry Pie Day? And I went and looked it up, and it's February 25th of next year or something. And so I put it on my calendar, and I'm like, make sure to text Robert on the 25th, nice. Right?
Very good.
Like, why not?
Yeah, that's great.
Like, what a nice little thing that I can do, and we keep in touch, and like all these things. Yep.
Yeah, those little things that you remember and reach out to people and that stuff. It's powerful.
It is. It is powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely powerful. Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, I share that because it's that practice is a good thing to just keep in mind, and I say it as much for myself as anybody else. I'm not great at remembering these kinds, to even think about these kinds of things, and so I figured talking about it is good. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's cool. So I'm coming off of so I do this fundraiser once a year for a cause near and dear to my heart. It's all about conservation, conserving wetlands.
Okay.
I'm a hunter, so I like to hunt waterfowl, and we don't have enough wetlands for them. So this fundraiser, basically for an organization called Ducks Unlimited, they use the money to buy land, preserve, that kind of stuff. It's great. Yep. So, and I think we raised about $92,000 on Saturday night.
Congrats! That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's good. And I've been doing it. This is my 10th or 11th year. And it's a lot of work leading up to that. We have a great group of people, volunteers that do it. And the thing I've realized, when I joined and I was recruited, I introduced a bunch of, I would say, best practices, stuff I've done for my businesses over the years. And it allowed us to scale up to a much higher level. And now we have a whole new generation of people coming in that we're recruiting to delegate and help take over stuff. And I see the same thing happening. So we have a young guy who's an engineer who's just, spreadsheeting every aspect of the event and comparing, what game performs the best, what guns get the best, because we it's a hunting type conservation thing. So we do that. What products sell the best during the auction, all this stuff. And it just got me thinking that, the business people are usually the busiest people, but they're often the best to recruit to help you with these types of events.
Yes.
They bring a whole nother skill set, and we have other volunteers that are awesome, but they just don't think that way. And we need all kinds of manpower, which is great. And they have great personalities, and they connect with the people, and that's what they bring. Just like the sales and marketing team, right?
Yeah, right.
They're out there talking. So that's very, very important. But the back end logistics part, that business experience, and maybe it's not even business, could be just your logistical experience that maybe you've had working for somebody else, but it's crucial for success. And I see it more and more, and it's allowing me to give up. We talked about that 80 or 75 or 80% rule.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm totally right there. I'm just like, do it. Go ahead. You do the newsletter, and you can handle this part, and I'll take this part on. But giving up more and more has freed me up to enjoy the event more and more, because I'm not just buried in it for a month or two before.
Yeah, right. Well, and what you're saying here is very much the epitome or a prime example of using our business brains, right? And tuning our business brains. It's like we think about things because we actively do this regularly. It causes us to approach everything with a business brain in all aspects of our lives. And that really can help level things up. It can be to our detriment sometimes if it's supposed to be just an enjoyable thing. And it's like, well, hey, I was talking about that with Scoville on Gig Gab. He's a sound engineer, and he and his wife like to go to see theater shows. And she will tell him, don't say
comment.
anything to me about the sound. I want to watch the story. It's like,
I've had this problem.
I get that.
I've had this problem too. Like when I joined, I'm like, okay, we're raising 30 grand next year. How do we get 20% more and then 20% more? And for a while, I was really driven by the numbers. But then, you have up and down years. And in this case, I always I was reminding myself, because this year was a bit of a struggle.
Okay.
I was reminding the team, I said, hey, anything over 0 that we bring in is a positive.
Oh, that's fair.
Right?
Yes.
It's not our business. We're not paying our bills with it. We're here volunteering. So you're right about not getting so focused from a business level that that you don't enjoy it as much.
Yes. Yeah. You just gotta temper it and apply it. Be thoughtful about when and how we apply our business brains. But absolutely.
That's cool. Yeah. If you're involved in anything like that, let us know. Feedback at businessbrain.show. I'd be interested in your take on, the most effective way to run an organization like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Definitely. Hey, back in episode 537, we wound up talking about Loom, and I shared how Dallas Taylor, who I had interviewed on Gig Gab, used Loom to buy back his time by creating essentially training videos for his staff, showing them, here's how I do a thing. Now you can refer to this anytime you want because it's now your job to do that thing, whatever it is.
Yeah, very powerful.
Super powerful. We got a note from Todd, says to follow up on that discussion, Slack also has the capability to record your screen with a live thumbnail of you in the lower right corner. Interesting. Okay, good to know.
Nice.
I love this. And then he says on the Mac, the Clean Shot app has a ton of features, one of which is also recording your screen with a live thumbnail. Great developer, great updates coming very often with YouTube videos highlighting new features. So they're using, I'm sure he's using Clean Shot to teach you how to use Clean Shot. Why wouldn't he? Yep. So I'll put those links in the show notes.
Yeah, do it.
But I brought it up because you were talking about Loom pre-show. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I love about Loom is, you get the video and everything, but it does a transcript along the side as it creates it. When you share that link, people can comment, ask questions right in there, and you can get this asynchronous dialogue going if you're trying to describe something to somebody. You can edit the basically via the transcript, which is really powerful.
Yeah.
And I think you can... A good example how I use it just before the show. So I have a guy that reached out and said, hey, I want you to come on my podcast, talk about your business experience, yada, yada.
Amazing.
Yada. Yeah. And he's super analytical, super smart guy, very successful. So he sends me like this pre-interview questionnaire, and it's, two or three pages in a Google Doc. And I'm thinking, I'm not typing answers to this. I mean, it's just not the best use of my time.
Sure.
And so I told him, I said, hey, I'll just record a Loom, and I'll just go over the questionnaire and I'll talk my answers out because it's going to create a transcript if you need it in writing.
Yeah, you can you can paste it in wherever you want. Yep.
Yeah. So what would have taken me 45 minutes to break out, I was able to just walk through, scroll through answer his questions, give, feedback like, well, that question's not applicable here, or this is different, and gives a lot of nuance to it that I wouldn't want to, it would take me a long time to type out. And then I just send him the link. Well, here you go.
This is brilliant. Because Loom in and of itself, like the whole idea, like Dallas explained, using it to train and buy back your time, brilliant use case of it. I never thought about using it to reply, changing the medium, right? Which is exactly what you did. You went from a written medium, which is allows you to be articulate, but can be cold.
Yep.
Right? To
time consuming. Yep.
and potentially time consuming. It depends on how you work, but I know you. And so for you, like looming it is way more efficient than writing it. And I would be the same way. And I think a lot of us would be the same way. But what I like about this is you showed him your personality.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
I like that too.
And this may not have been intentional, but I'm thinking about places where I would definitely do this intentionally now that you've kind of opened my eyes to it, because there's times where you get a note and it's like somebody's like, well, can you explain why this is or why that is? Like, I've mentioned we're selling this other company, and there's a lot of back and forth. They're asking a lot of questions, which absolutely makes sense. And it gets cold with just the back and forth, because it becomes this very like everybody wants to be as efficient as they can be. And so we're just typing and yada, yada. And it's like, wait, we forget that we're humans. And so using something like Loom or something like it to sort of be that, hey, I thought this one would be easier to answer if I just talked it out. And now you're getting me with my hands moving like a maniac and my inflection, and you can see the things I'm excited about, and you can see the things where I'm like, you're asking this question that's not really relevant, as opposed to just putting NA. Yes. Right? Like that was the thing. Cool. As you were describing it was like, wait a minute, this is so much better, because now you get to hear a little bit from me about, well, this isn't relevant because of the way this business runs, and okay, we'll move on. And you can apply this. That's the nuance. Yes.
Yeah. And I have a colleague up on X that uses it to do website roasts. He's it's a web hosting and design company, and so he gets on there and walks through websites and say, oh, here's this, here's that. There's just so many uses. I love the SOP use case that you mentioned up front.
Yep.
And just going over like, here, look, this is what I want done. This is why, and this is how I do it. And even back to like I'm talking about this fundraising thing, one of the big time-consuming things that I do is handle the ticket sales online, the payments, the whole thing. Well, I have to teach somebody to do that if I'm going to step away, and I want to replace myself.
Right,
just like business. So I'm going to do the whole Loom thing. Like, look, this is how I do it. This is how you set up Stripe. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. And I think it's great. And I think that there's a lot more uses for a screen recording product than we're thinking of.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
So if you've used Loom or Slack or whatever to make these kinds of recording, what are we missing on the ways that you're using it? Reach out, feedback@businessbrain.show. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, like he said, feedback@businessbrain.show there, and let us know. We love to. We love. If you can't tell, first of all, I don't know how this would be possible, but if you can't tell, we love digging into this stuff. We love hearing from you. Feedback@businessbrain.show, and stick around. Play the next episode. If you're listening on Wednesday or Thursday, it'll come out on Friday. If it's already past Friday, just play the next episode, and we'll see you on Friday. And keep living that charmed life. All right. So for some reason, my little
I saw you grimacing there.
We're okay. Hang on. I just need to mark time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shoot.
So if you're watching the stream, we're just in between episodes, getting things set up so that we can do the post-production stuff, which doesn't take that long. But
doesn't usually take that long.
Doesn't usually. It's going to take a little longer this time.
Yeah, I just need to. It didn't. When we get together, and what episode was that? That was 547, right?
Yes.
Okay. When we get together, I start the recording, just as a safety net to make sure everything goes, and then I have a little script that chops the recording. It splits the recording right as we start, and it works out great. Well, for whatever reason this time, it did not.
So you'll have to manually do that.
So I just got to go find it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah, I found it. Like it's going to be fine. Yeah, yep.
Yeah. And so this next episode, we're going to talk about finding podcast sponsors, which is the number one question I get when people hear that we've ran this podcast for 10 years and we're on episode 547, and how we have advertisers and sponsors. That's the number one thing they want to know, because everybody wants to monetize. So we're going to chat about that. Dave also owns a company called Backbeat Media that has been around forever, that started off selling display ads. I think that's how I met Dave, 20 plus years ago,
correct,
when I was buying display ads for my company Mac Rescue, which then became Rescue Systems. We connected then, and now Backbeat has, changed with the times, and now they're a podcast advertising agency, and we're going to talk about that. So it's going to be pretty good.
Yep. I'm moving along.
Yeah, great crowd today. 190 of you joining us on X, which is terrific.
I don't think we get to know how many people are joining us from LinkedIn, Shannon. It doesn't show, right?
Yeah, you're right.
We get YouTube and
if I go there, if I
Twitter.
look at,
that might tell you. Yeah.
It doesn't say. No, it just shows one repost.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I don't spend much time on LinkedIn anymore. I'm so deep into X. It's ridiculous.
I was actually on LinkedIn this morning, clearing through my inbox.
Oh yeah, I have a nasty inbox too.
And it was like, oh man, like I need to, I need to do this a little more often. There is an autoresponder on LinkedIn's inbox that I'm thinking about using.
That's a good idea.
Well, yeah, but the problem is, like, what I want to tell people is, I won't see this. Email me.
Yeah.
But do I want to do that with all the spammers on LinkedIn?
No.
That's
yeah.
Yeah, you understand my dilemma.
I'm hiring a new assistant that is going to help me manage. Yeah, we'll talk about it after I
get.
I'm about halfway through the interview process, hiring a.
Are you using an agency to do it? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm hiring someone to help me create. I have all kinds of newsletter subscribers, but I do not have a newsletter. So so I'm hiring someone to take my content, help me create a newsletter to increase my net, to meet more people, meet more coaching clients. And so they're going to be on board in the coming weeks. And I'm going to absolutely have them helping me on LinkedIn and reposting and repurposing all the content I post on X and pushing it to LinkedIn and other platforms. You never know. We'll see.
Yeah, of course.
It goes.
Yeah. I like it. So that's cool. All right. I'm basically ready.
You ready?
Yeah, I think I was able to salvage it. This is why I start the recording before you and I ever say hello to each other.
Very smart. Very smart.
Yep. Now, many of those recordings need to be destroyed.
Of course. Right? Yes. Yeah. We meet, if you're listening, Dave and I meet and talk for 15, 20 minutes before the show. Because a lot of times that's where the ideas come up. What's going on? What's going on in your business? This, that, and the other. And some of the gold is in there. So it's
but good. Also we those conversations, our guard is down, right? Yes. I mean, it's fine. It's great. But those Nobody's are not watching. Built to be, they're not intended for public consumption. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's great.
All right.
You ready?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do this. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let me pull this up. Here we go. Let's see if this works this time. Business Brain, episode 548 for Casual Friday, May 10th, National Small Business Day, 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take some ideas, we analyze them so that we can use them to tune our business brains together each and every episode that we all sort of gather here together. And here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And I'm out here in Northern California, Shannon Jean. Small Business Day. That's amazing.
Right?
That's awesome.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
A salute to all the heroes and of small business owners. And I posted that comment not too long ago. How we have a small business. Well, it's a Business Brain T-shirt, and on the back of that shirt, there's a bunch of terms that I associate with entrepreneurs, small business owners, and I use the word hero because I really think the hero framework is terrific for us as we're battling through things, and I think you should put yourself in that seat as you fight these battles.
Yep.
And I actually had quite a few people push back on that and said, no, it's not applicable. Too much. So I did another post the next day where I said, no, this is why this works, and kind of broke it down. But I much respect to everybody out there trying to create something from nothing. It's the Teddy Roosevelt, the person in the arena, is the true hero, not the critic and the person on the outside. It's the person that's taking action and getting it done. Happy Friday to you.
And happy casual Friday to you too. I realized if you're watching the video that I had it said Friday, May 9th, 2024,
wow.
which doesn't exist. It's actually May 10th. Yep,
May 10th.
That's right.
That's great. Yeah.
Yep, it's fixed now, so it's all
Perfect.
good. Everything's going to be okay.
Yes.
We're building the airplane as we fly it usually. And
That's the best way.
Steven has a note for us, which I found is perfect, in fact, for National Small Business Day. He says, hey guys, I recently discovered your show. Your many years of production experience and practice being in front of a mic is self-evident, as you both make it sound easy, which I am quite certain it is not. Beautifully done. Some feedback from a fellow entrepreneurial introvert, Dave. Thank you. He says, you did that episode on Leave Me Alone money, or passive income, he says, is an old friend for me. Enough money to never, ever need a boss or to have your time or personal freedom controlled by your livelihood. At the same time, the passive income does not mean you revert to couch potato or sloth status. You simply have bought back your time with your family, those important in your lives, or time to pursue other endeavors. I always try to seek a balance, Stephen continues. I cannot remember where I first heard this phrase, which resonates and helps me keep things in perspective. Otherwise, I would credit the originator. And he says, on your deathbed, you'll never wish you had spent more time at the office. What keeps me young, Stephen says, these days I manage my managers. I am patient with their occasional mistakes, and lavish is my praise when they knock it out of the park. I monitor and encourage and provide input and guidance as needed. However, I let them run things as they see fit, which is difficult for a once chronic micromanager. In a number of instances, some do the job better than I ever could. In other situations, not so much. However, it's not me having to do all the tasks any longer. It is highly skilled individuals, for which I am grateful to them all. Much happiness, success, and prosperity in all your pursuits. Thank you for that, Stephen. That's
awesome.
Yeah, it is inspirational. It is aspirational. And it really sums up so many of the things we've talked about on this show for so many years, right? Like the idea of letting go and letting people who could do things 80% as well as you is what gives you your time back to either move on to other things or to expand your existing business. Like it's the only way you get your time back. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And being able to give up and understand that, especially in the beginning, there's going to be a dip in productivity, maybe quality, whatever, but then it'll scale back up, and you'll be able to step away. And it's hard to do, especially the first time, maybe even the second time. But once you do it, and I wish I was better at it, and people ask me about it all the time, but it's difficult. And who doesn't like to be the center of things? This revolves around me, and I'm important. I'm the hero.
Yeah, I'm the hero. That's right. Yep.
Stepping out of that and giving up, you're like, okay. And I was forced to do it because I'm just no good at so many things. I'm pretty good leader, I think. I'm a deal guy. I get things started. I'm biased to action. I'm just like, go, let's go. But eventually, your business kind of gets into management mode, right? Where you've got infrastructure and all that stuff. And, that's
it's not your thing.
It doesn't interest me quite as much.
Yep.
And so, it's you have to get out of the way if you want to then let that go and everything. And I've failed miserably at it, but I've been successful at it enough where, I'd say
I continue to fail miserably at it. And I just work at it, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I let my team know I don't believe I am the best manager,
Yeah.
and we can all kind of help each other here. I can help you with the things that I am good at that you need help with, and you can help me be a better manager. And it's it's just how it is.
It's how it is, and we all have to learn. And that being honest and having great communication is the way you get over a lot of that, because your people aren't really usually they're not expecting you to say something like that, right? So
no, right, especially not on day one.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell people, and I know I've said it on the show before, but we're here. I tell people, look, I can be a chronic micromanager. I don't like that part about myself. But I know it exists, and now you know it exists. And so we're going to make a deal that if either one of us notices me micromanaging you, that is a conversation that is what needs to be the catalyst to a conversation. And you can bring it up or I can bring it up, and there's never going to be an issue with you bringing it up.
Yeah,
because
something's going on.
Something's going on that's causing me to, revert back to my old ways. So and it might be something with me. It might have nothing to do with you, or it might actually have something to do with you. And that's also okay, because we're going to talk about it and we're going to fix it. So
yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I think that's terrific. And having that freedom has allowed me to start this show with you and say, hey, every Tuesday we're going to do this. I'm going to get, and we've done it for 10 years. And I think it's great. And, talking about business, and I consider this a business. It generates revenue for us.
Yes.
And it has for a long, long time. And one of I would say the number one question I get about this business and the podcast is, how do you get advertisers? How do you get sponsors? And, we've had Amazon Pharmacy and Shopify and Text Expander. I mean, if you go to businessbrain.show/sponsors, you'll see a list of a bunch of great sponsors that, Gusto Payroll and all these people that have really helped support us over the years. And so, Dave, you're an expert on this. You own a podcasting marketing agency, or how do you phrase how you think of it like that?
Yeah, I say that at Backbeat Media, which is the company you're talking about, we represent a group of fiercely independent podcasters, of which I am one.
I like
and that. But it rolls off the tongue. It's catchy, but it's also true. We really like to represent shows that have their own voice, that are their own hosts, and we try it's not our goal to homogenize them. And I mean, there's parts of them that we will certainly group shows together when we're pitching sponsors and all of that, obviously.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, right. Economies of scale and all of that. But, we leave it up to our hosts to do their shows the way they want to do them. But yeah, we're a boutique rep firm is sort of what the industry would call us.
I see.
We don't try to have thousands of shows. We have dozens, and maybe we'll get into the triple digits of shows at some point, and that would be fine. But we're not looking to have thousands of shows. We like to manage the show. We like to know the shows that we manage.
Makes sense. Yeah. And so if you had a podcaster that had a relatively new show, and they were trying to figure out how do they get to that point. And when we started 10 years ago, I'll never forget, you said, we're just going to start recording. We're not going to release episodes. You're just going to get used to being in front of the microphone. I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah, same.
And so I thought that was great, helped me a lot. But what advice would you give a relatively new podcaster of how are they going to get to that point where they're going to try to attract advertisers and sponsors that want to come and be on their show?
Yeah. So the first thing to do is don't worry about sponsors. Worry about your listeners. Go and develop your voice, develop an audience, and get some consistency. And there's a couple of litmus tests that we use when we're onboarding a show. And I think sharing a few of these might be helpful in painting this picture. So one of them, and this is the worst one and the one we ignore the most, is number of downloads per episode. Regardless of whether we're going to ignore this when you and I talk or not, you need to be able to calculate this number. If you don't know how to figure out how many downloads a specific episode has gotten in its first 30 days, either go figure that out or reach out and we will help teach you how to do that.
Why is that so difficult? Because I still frustrated with trying to figure that out as well.
Sure.
Why is it so difficult?
It's really not difficult. Yeah. You can use Podtrax Analytics. I'll put a link in the show notes. They make it very easy to do this. The reason it's important is if you're going to embed host read ads, which is still the gold standard in the industry, which is what we do here. You'll hear us stop and say, hey, we want to take a minute and tell you about, Gusto or Shopify or whatever. And we tell you the thing and we say, visit, shopify.com/businessbrain or whatever that works out to be. Those host read ads embedded in the show are the gold standard still. And sponsors want to know and will buy based on how many downloads that episode will get with their spot in it over the first month or so. Is it 30 days? Is it 45 days? Is it 60 days? Those numbers are malleable, but in general, you need to be able to look and see how many downloads each episode is getting, and you can start to identify patterns. So Podtrax Analytics are great. They're an easy way to do it, and they don't share your data with the world. So that would be question number one. And we often say a show needs 3,000 downloads before we'll have a conversation or before we'll bring you on. We'll have a conversation at any level, but before we really want to start pitching you to sponsors, it needs to be at that 3,000 level. Now, that's not true. We will bring on shows and sell sponsorships for shows that are below that 3,000 level. The reason we use that as a litmus test is that's a very easy way for us to identify shows that are committed or to identify hosts that are committed to producing their shows and shows that we believe are going to last. Because when we bring a show on, we're going to work to pitch you to sponsors and ad agencies and brands.
That's going to stop.
It's just going to stop because we're putting in. We work on a revenue share model, which is how most agencies and rep firms like us work. And so we're putting in the work up front, and we get paid on the back end, right? We get paid when you get paid, and so we want to know that there's some that we believe in the longevity of this thing, at least for 3 to 6 months. Hopefully longer than that.
You told me one time most podcasts don't have more than 10 episodes. Is that
correct?
Is that right? Wow,
that's right. Very few podcasts make it to double-digit episodes. Right?
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the second.
So but that's the other thing is how many episodes have you done? There's some sort of nebulous factors that you can look at and say, okay, well, maybe the show's only, I talked to a woman today who's got a show that they, do about 2,000 downloads an episode, 1,500 on some, but she is it's obvious from all the other data points that exist out there as you kind of pull in all these heuristics. She's committed. And she's going to keep doing it. And it's okay, great. Nice. Well, now let's talk about that. And then at that point we can put it together and start pitching and that's how that's the way to get ads on your show is find somebody that will work with you. You can do it on your own. I did. I mean, it's how we started Backbeat Media, right?
Right. Yeah. And some platforms have ad programs that put ads automatically in your shows, right?
Yep. Those ads,
a little bit of money.
You can make a little bit of money. The problem with those ads is they are generally paying far, far less per download when you break it down that way than the, specifically sold targeted ads to your show. And then you've also got to give up some of your data to do that. And our fiercely independent podcasters don't like to give up we don't give up your data as audience members of Business Brain. And hopefully you appreciate that for us because we could make a little bit more money if we did. But we opt not to because we wouldn't want that done of us. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. So number one, be consistent.
Yes.
build up the downloads,
Be
focus
consistent.
be
Release on a schedule that people can rely on. This is the best way. Well, it's the best way to keep listeners, and releasing on an unreliable schedule is the best way to lose listeners.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, you want them to come to, every Tuesday at noon,
Bingo.
This comes out. And
yes.
we did Tuesdays at noon Pacific time forever.
Yeah.
Then we broke our show in two because we were trying to get smaller bites of, content to people, which did really well.
Yep.
So now we do Tuesday and Friday at noon Pacific every,
that's right.
or 9 a.m. Pacific time, I should say.
Yeah, noon Eastern. That's right.
Eastern
time.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then we started streaming, and I never knew why anybody would want to watch us, but there's 342 people on X. I don't know how many on LinkedIn, but
right.
And that's helped our show as well. We're up about 17%. Since we
as of last week, and it might be it might be increasing.
Might be more. So that's awesome. So find a good agency, get a group company that will respect what you're trying to do. Focus on quality of your content, being consistent. Don't worry about sponsors. Just get out there and start sharing. And I always tell people say, well, what do I talk about? It's like, well, talk about whatever interests you, because you'll be better at it. And this is what Dave
and you will find an audience.
Yeah,
I always say, podcasters attract audiences like them.
Yep.
And this is true, right? If you're talking about something that you're passionate about, you don't necessarily have to be an expert, but don't lie to yourself or your listeners about your relative level of expertise. You could start a show and say, hey, I've thought about, if I ever go to get my pilot's license, I am definitely doing a show about what it's like to get my pilot's license. Now,
great idea.
I have some baseline knowledge. I've spent a lot of time with Flight Simulator. I've even flown planes before, but I don't have my license, so I'm certainly not an expert. But I could do a show every week after I finish my lesson, and like all of that stuff. And then of course my lessons wind up being tax deductible because here's the show and I'm making money and like all those things. Man. But that's not my rules. Those are the IRS's rules. I'm just following them. Yep. Yep. No, that's great. But like you can be a beginner because your listeners do something relatable. Yeah. That's really if you want any guidance, or be relatable. If coming across as the end all be all expert of something and never admitting I don't know alienates people.
Yeah, that's not the way you're going to build an audience.
No.
I want to just talk about, we could have had this conversation sitting in a bar having a beer. And that's, to me, the measuring stick or yardstick of, should we talk about this? And do I want to learn more? I talk about what I'm doing? Like I'm using Loom more. So we talked about that at the last episode on Wednesday. And then we started talking earlier when we were doing our pre-show. I was like, everybody's asking me how we get sponsors. Let's just do that because that's kind of interesting. So talk about what interests you, and you will attract other people that are interested in what you are.
Yeah. Shoot us a note. Feedback at businessbrain.show. Like I'm always happy. And I want to make sure I didn't misspeak earlier, just because there might be a reason that it's not time yet for us to take your show on, or that we are never going to be the right folks for your show. I refer people to other rep firms all the time because we don't take on everyone. It has to be the right fit. But I know everyone. I've been doing this since before podcasting was a term that was coined, right? Yeah. We started Backbeat Media on the web. And
that's right.
I should share, Backbeat Media wasn't our idea. We started Mac Observer, and then our first full-time hire was a sales rep because I realized sales needs to be a full-time job. Fine. Okay, great. And then about 8 months in to starting the Mac Observer, 4 of our competitors, other people who had websites that were sharing Apple/Mac news, because back then it was all the same because there was no iPhone or iPod, right? Mm-hmm. So they came to us, and they swear to this day that they did not conspire, but I don't believe them. They came to us and said, you guys seem to have your stuff together. Will you do for us what you've done for yourselves? We just want to publish our we just want to publish our content. We don't want to worry about sponsors. And there were a few other things like hosting, because back then there was no DreamHost. So we managed hosting for a while and things like that. And we were like, well, wait a minute. If 4 people want this, maybe we should spin off a business. And that's how Backbeat Media was born.
I love it, man.
So,
yeah, it's so great. Go to backbeatmedia.com. That's correct.
Thanks.
If you want to learn about
Thanks.
Dave's podcast marketing agency, and share your, questions with us, feedback at businessbrain.show. And if you're just getting started, just keep going. Be consistent and keep recording. You'll do great.
You'll do fine. You'll do terrible at first, and you'll do terrible again at moments along the way. We release episodes that I'm like, oh man, that would have been better if.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's not how it works. Like, you just got to do it. Yeah, go do it. It'll be fine. Yeah, and then tell us about your show. We'll share it here. We can all share each other's shows. We get more listeners. It all helps everybody. Keep living that charmed life. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. And we're out.
Awesome.
Yep.
Hey, thanks. 343 streamers. That's great.
That's a lot, man.
That's
our record.
Biggest number. So that's great. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can comment on the post on X if you think we did something right or something wrong, or you would like something for us, a topic we should discuss next week's. We'd love to hear from you. And thanks for listening. I'm going to end the stream right now. See you, folks. Take care.